what would you say is the teaching, or at least your perspective on folks who identify as two-spirit or other gendered, for folks who are not familiar with the lingo? What is the protocol there?
Actually, there are specific ceremonies that are for, shall we say, those who carry a womb or those who have a phallus, right? So if we prefer not to use the word two spirits, right, which also implies a dichotomization and polarization, but what we can say is, those who, identify as non-binary, or, I think those who carry a womb or those that have a phallus, then there's actually specific ceremonies for them in Indigenous cultures that their medicine is also honored. I think about, for example, in the Sundance, oftentimes they will have one who identifies as non-binary to clamber up the tree, in the cottonwood tree, and place some bundles up there, for example, right? Because they do carry that kind of medicine, right? So in traditional cultures, particularly though, pre-contact, and this according to my families and my mentors, right, that, before the inculcation of Christianity, into a lot of Indigenous cultures and assimilation practices, there was definitely an honoring of the identity of all individuals and recognizing their intrinsic sovereignty to the identity that was often imparted to them through spirits, right? So, for example, let's just say, for example, there was a woman who carried a womb who wanted to be a bison hunter, right? Well, she had a dream and a vision, and that was really what she asserted. Then, she would allow, she'd be permitted to go on a hunt, even though the culture, the tribe may understand that, bison hunting was very dangerous. And their warriors often did not return sometimes, by being impaled by the bison or falling off their horse and being trampled, or, for whatever the reason, right? And so, they would understand that, perhaps then that individual would not be bringing life, through her body or his body, depending on how they saw that. Or similarly, if you had a individual that has a phallus, but who preferred to do more of the division of labor in terms of the feminine principles and practices, right? Then they would be respected, right? In fact, there's a medicine way in the Lakota called winkte, right? So it's an individual who recognizes or identifies as other than their gender, and there's actually a medicine person that way, right? So there is an honoring of those that were not necessarily binary in terms of their identification.
So without me oversimplifying, if I'm hearing what you're saying, is that in these ways, there were protocols for folks who identified as male or female, but that there was also, for those who didn't or had a different dream, vision for themselves and their life and their identity, there was not a tolerance, but a willingness of the people to support that vision and that dream versus trying to corner them or put them into a box.
There's also an acceptance for who they perceive or desire themselves to be, right? And in fact, there is a ceremony that's done for transformation, right? There's actually a ceremony, if there's an individual who wished to shift from one gender identity to another, and there's actually a ceremony, and of course the ceremony involves the community, so the community also therefore celebrates and acknowledges this this identification.
Yeah, beautiful.